Hi everyone, it's Gabrielle from My Lovey. How are you today? And I am really excited if you can join us this evening. What we're going to be doing is something a little bit different, a little bit more involved, but I'm going to break it down as easy as I can for you, and I will have it recorded so you can always check back on our Facebook page and also on our website at mylovey.com. So today we're going to be making this cute little ducky, kind of chickie, and he's in a wooden little bucket, and I just kind of go over everything where you can kind of get most of the stuff you can easily get at any craft store, you know, or big box store that sells crafts in there. So the chick is made out of polymer clay, so you don't need any special kind of equipment. I use a toaster oven, but you can use your regular oven. So I will go and I'll try to break it down each step for you, but normally it will take like an hour and a half, so I'm just going to try to break it down for you. Hi there. And so that's what we're going to be doing this evening. The parts that you're going to use is you can get these, like, they're little wooden, they come unfinished. They're just the little buckets. You can get them at Joann's, you can get them at Hobby Lobby, you can get them at any of the various craft stores. They come in different sizes. I tried to get, this one is about 2 inches, 2¼ inches, because it will give you kind of a nice size that kind of really sits really nice on a display unit. So that's what those are. I buy them in bulk, but you know, usually you can get a couple of them at the craft store. So that's one of the things you'll need. The other thing is you'll need paints. So typically, if you look at this, I usually like to do a white background paint versus all the splotches. So just, you know, your typical, I use the Delta cream coat paints. So that's what I do as a background. I also, for the purple and green, you can use any colors you want. So whatever you think is more spring-like, or Easter, if you're giving it as a gift, you can definitely do that. But I have Wisteria for the purplish color, and I have the Americana, and it's a mint julep. So it kind of gives you that purpley kind of green also in there. So that's that. And then I also have black. There's a couple of different ways you can paint and do your do the clay, but I just want to give you some of the basic ones. Also, because this little chick has feathers, you can also buy this at any craft store. It goes flying everywhere. Just a little bag of these feathers. And you're going to be cutting them, so you'll need a scissor. But it's just to fit it to size. And then, let's see, the colors that I used for the clay. This is just regular Sculpey. You can use Fimo. It doesn't really matter. If you want a white chip, you can do it in white. So don't feel like you're stuck doing it a certain way. This is just a typical yellow Sculpey, you know, Sculpey 3 it is called. Yep, Sculpey 3, and it's just plain yellow. For the beak, which is in here, just so you can see it, a lot of times I like to use a, they call it sweet potato. It's kind of not as bright orange. It will get a little darker when you bake it, but I like to have a little bit darker, but it's whatever your preference is. You can use a regular orange. So that's what I use. When I wanted to tie in the colors of the ribbon that I have around the duck, I did kind of a purpley color, but you can do whatever you want. You can do it in clay. That's what I'm going to show you this evening. But you can also do it in fabric. So don't feel like, you know, oh, I have to get all these different colors. You know, you don't have to do it that way. Because sometimes you might have a piece of fabric that really would just go well that you'd like to do. So that's that. And some white. And that's pretty much the basic things you'll need. You need a little glue, and most of the stuff you already have or very easy to get at a craft store. So what I did to save time is I did the base coating of the bucket in white, because I like it, instead of trying to fill every little spot of the unfinished, I like to have it as a white background. I will eventually, when you're all done painting, we're not going to watch me, you know, dry. So, but usually you will put like a varnish on it just to kind of have a nice sheen to it, and that's what I have done with this one. It makes a nice look to it. You can use a paper plate, you can use a piece of you know, plastic or a paper plate or a plastic plate, just if you're doing the painting, you know, if you don't want to, if you just want to make it quick and easy and throw out the stuff afterwards. I usually have some paint brushes floating around, but feel free that you can use the little foam brushes. And then the last thing I have is the filling. And you use a very, very little bit of it. So a little bit will probably make you a lot of them. But it's just more to fill in the bucket when you're done. And a lot of times, depending on how big you want to make your little chick before he fits into the bucket, a lot of times will glue just a piece of wood block. You can also get that at the hobby store. Usually they have like half a dozen of them in a bag. And after I've got done painting, I don't paint it, I'll glue it in the bottom of it just so he can sit the way I want him to sit, if you don't want to make him all clay to have a certain height stick up. So that is all we have involved here. A lot of times I like to use gloves because, you know, when you're mixing a lot of different colors, especially if you're doing something in red, if you're thinking that for like Valentine's Day or the holidays, it does stain on your hands. So I always try to work from light to dark in colors, and then if I'm really using like a reds or those greens, I'll wear gloves. So I'm just going to put it on just so you can see, but that's about it. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you what I typically do for painting this. It's usually just sponge on. You don't have to be really great about it because you've already done the base painting in white. So whatever you didn't fill in with one of the other colors that you might want to use, or you can just keep it this color or paint it a solid color. You don't have to. It's just something a little bit different. You just put a little dab in there. I just put it right on my little container right there. And a lot of times I will just take, you know, one of my little brushes and I'm just dabbing, literally. You're just dabbing and sponging it on there so you can see how it is. I paint it in a little bit in the bottom, not that you would really see it, but it just kind of gives a finished look to it, just in case you don't have to be so particular when you're doing the filler. So you at least will cover in. You don't have to necessarily sponge in there, but if you'd like to, that's more than, you know, you're more than welcome to do that. So a lot of times I will just do a lot of this little dabbing in here, and that will give you, you know, the basic purple color. And then a lot of times when you're doing your second color, you can let that dry, or depending on the kind of look you want, you can also put the second color in. So I have, my husband did all my display cabinet for all my paints, and I have like a couple hundred of them. So you're only seeing a little portion of them right here. So, and then you'll just put, you know, the same thing, a little bit of green in there. And a little dab will do you. So if you want to do it, you know, when we're able to get together with everyone, it's a great little fun little project to do with family and friends. And even kids can do it. I wouldn't do the sharp things with them. If there's anything that you wanted to, you know, while you're cutting the clay or something like that, or putting it in the toaster oven or oven, you know, maybe as a grown-up you can do that. But it's definitely a fun project for a more older child to do. So then we'll take like another, you know, paintbrush, or if you were cleaning it, but we're trying to save time here to show you. And the same thing, you would just dab it in, and then you'd have lots of different colors in there, and then you get the kind of look you want. Once that is all done, you just let it dry. Let it dry, and then the next thing you'll do is, after that's all done, I usually like to glue in one of my little wood blocks like I was telling you about. Glue it in the bottom. I like to use the 6000 glue. This one's really beat up, but it really holds, so you don't have to worry about if something drops. This is also what you're going to use when you attach the baked clay item onto your wood bucket, because you want to really make sure. I have tried it with hot glue. Sometimes, you know, over time it does separate, or, you know, depending on where you're storing it, the hot and the cold kind of, you know, doesn't hold up that well over time. 6000 glue, you can find it anywhere, and a little dab will do you. It is wonderful for these kind of projects, especially if you're adhering anything, wood to wood, metal to wood, clay once it's baked. I use this all the time in all my craft projects, so I go through a lot of it for me. but it's a great thing to use. So, you know, if you have that, that is great. If you're working with little kids and you don't want to, the only difference is it does take a little bit longer to set up. So I usually just let it, you know, sit for a while, but you want to have that. So once that is all done, you know, you set that aside. You can, like I said, put your varnish on it, and it's ready to go when your clay item is all done. The next thing you want to do is we're going to take our yellow clay. So usually the clays, whether it's Sculpey, Fimo, they usually come with 4 little blocks to them, you know, for the 2-ounce bar. Usually you use about half of it. So for every package that you would get, you usually can get about 2 chicks out of them. So doesn't matter the color, usually you use about those 2. So I'll put on my gloves just so I can keep the yellow a little bit cleaner. You know, depending on your oils on your hands, make sure you wash your hands really good. Don't put lotion on it because that will get onto your clay items. So all you do is just mush it around and make sure, you know, that, you know, you're really mixing it well. Usually Sculpey's really good when you have people with, you know, our hands are not necessarily strong, because if you have some of the Fimo ones, unless you use the Fimo Soft, it can be really hard to actually engage it and get it kind of soft. So we will have that. And then what I like to do is I just roll it, and, you know, I'll try to get it as quick as I can. I won't get it as perfect as I would if I was giving it as a gift or making it for an order. But it kind of, you're making it into like a little sausage kind of thing. And then I usually just kind of like, you know, kind of make a nice little round head in there. And then usually I just take my fingers in the middle and just kind of make that indentation. So you keep doing it till you get a nice kind of look and feel that you like. So you can play with it to get it exactly how you want. What I would do, because it's going to sit on wood when you're done, on a hard surface, kind of get it so you have a flat end. Just because then when you do glue it to go into the bucket, it'll be nice and easy. It's not tippy. It has a nice flat surface for you. So you just keep doing it till you get it. You get, you know, nice little head shape. You try to get a little bit of the fingerprints or whatever out of there. And then you're done. And he'll just sit right there for you. And I usually try to get it as straight as I can, because you don't want to have a crooked chick. So there you is. Now, what we're going to do after that is I always like, you'll have the eyes and you'll have the beak. And a lot of times I always like to put the eyes first, the background eye, only because then when the beak, when you put the beak part in, it sits really nicely on the lower part of the eyes. So it kind of has a really nice little look. I think you can see it in there. This one I did all in clay, but a lot of times I like to do the white out of clay, and then after it's all baked, I'll do the black for the eye pupil, and then have that little pick of white to highlight the eye color. And I always think that looks really, really good, and then you don't have so many layers of clay on there. So then what we do is you can use a knife. I have these nice little, they're just like a little flat blade. And a lot of times you can get these, there's lots of little stamps. You might have, I don't know if you can see them, but you can find them in all the clay stores. They're just all different sizes, shapes. I'm trying to get it so you can see a little bit better. But they have them in teardrops, they have them in heart shapes, they have them like in a flower shape, they have them all different dimensions and sizes. So depending on what you want to do or how big you want to make something, it goes really, really fast. So this is more like a teardrop, and I use that a lot in my crafts when I'm trying to make that outside white pupil eye part of it. So what I'll do is I'll just take my white. So you just need, like I said, a little tiny bit of the white, and I'll go in there. So this is just leftover clay, and like I said, you probably just, you know, you get one of these colors for each thing, and you'll be able to do quite a bit. So just a little tiny bit. I don't even use that much. I take my roller. I have these little rollers, and you just roll a very, and try to do it thin, because when you cut it, you don't want so much bulk being up on there. So I just go really thin in there, and that's all you have to do. I take my little punch, which is really, really easy, or you can freehand it. You know, it's totally up to you. A lot of times, if you don't want to buy them, if you have those cake decorating tips, sometimes you'll have like the little round hole on the top, you know, and they come in different sizes. Those also make really good cutouts. And then even though they're round, you can just take your finger and just kind of elongate one side, and it gets you the teardrop anyway. So you don't have to buy tons and tons of different equipment or attachments to do anything. So you can definitely improvise in here. And then I just cut them, and they're really easy. I pull it apart, and you can see there's like the little hole in there, and that's really easy to do. I'll just put this away. And then what I like to do, because sometimes it's really hard to kind of like scrape it up, and that's more what I use the scraper. It's just really easy to put it in there. And because my fingers are sticky with this thing, I'm going to take my gloves off when I actually apply things, because I can get a really good grip in there. But I mostly use these gloves when I want to roll the clay, so I don't get it all over my hands, and then I have to keep washing my hands every time I change color. So what we're going to do now is we'll take this little yellow guy, and we are going to just take the first little teardrop. And what I like to do is I like to take where they kind of like the elongated part of the teardrop, I like to have them touching together, so they will be, I'll show you when I get done. I'll do the two. And like I say, these really whip up quick. So as you can see, I'm trying to see if you can get it. They're actually the two, the bottom, the wider part of the teardrop is at the bottom, and the pointier parts are on the top. So they kind of almost sit together. So that will be the base, like the white part of someone's eye or an animal. So it's your background for you. So that's all I do. And I will make sure it's really good in there. But, you know, usually they, especially Sculpey, it really sticks pretty well. Then what I do is I'm now going to take the orange, and that's going to make the beak part of it. Really, a little dab will do you. So what I do is I will just take a little tiny chunk, and you can see this is like the square, and it really lasts a long time, so you don't have to worry about that. And let me just take a little tiny chunk out of it. I can just use these part, and really it's probably half the size of a penny, maybe. It's like really, really tiny, and that's a really big beak. So I'll probably even cut some of that out. So just, you kind of can play with it to see, you know, how the kind of features you want to have. The one really good thing about these kind of projects is no two are alike. So it really makes a really nice gift. They get an original because you're not using a mold, you're doing your own hand work. So I usually, what I'll do is I'll take the little orange part, and I'll first make it into a round ball, and then I just take it and kind of try to, you know, make two little edges narrower. So you'll have like a thick middle and a little bit thinner and longer on the sides. So what you're doing is you're going to have the bulk of it's in the middle, and it kind of tapers out. I also have it a little bit flatter, just so it's, you know, kind of looks like a beak. But the thing is now, which is really good, everyone should probably have toothpicks. I have other things, but that's what I'm saying. You can do these things really, really easy. I take a toothpick, and I'll probably have on this video a little bit later, I'll probably add a little bit, couple more close-up shots for you so you can actually see what I'm talking about. And what I do is I just make a U. So think of it this way. You have the middle part that is big, and you're just going to kind of make the little round part going down, and that's going to be the part of his beak. So we'll go down like that, and then I usually like to take the toothpick or any other kind of tool, and you make those little dimples. So you know how you can take like a toothpick and you just push it in and it gets a nice little dimple edge? You do that on each end, and it doesn't look like much until you put them on. So what I'm doing is, see how we have his white eyes? I will put the beak right there. And so now you have him with his eye, white background, and his beak. And that's all you have to do, because remember the rest, if you want to do the pupils in a black clay or any kind of clay, you can definitely do that. I like to do the white in clay and then do the rest painted. So there's that. Now, if we're looking at this guy, we also want to do his ribbon around his neck. So if you didn't want to use cloth and you wanted to use clay, this is the time you want to do it. I also like to give a little personality to him, so I'll take that same toothpick and you make little crow's feet. That's the only time we like crow's feet on our face. And it just gives a little bit more personality. I usually like to do a couple on each side. And you just press in the toothpick onto the side of each one. And it gives you that kind of little crow's feet on the clay. Do that before you bake. So now we'll put him aside. We'll get this orange out of the way. And now I'm going to use purple because that's what we kind of had for the one I was showing you right here. It's a little bit different purple, but just to give you an idea, you can use any color you want. I just like to use the purple because it kind of blended in with what I had in my painting. So it worked well for me. So all you want to do is I first take a little straight edge. Don't have one. A knife will do really well. Don't use one with serrated unless that's the look you want. And what I'll do is I'll just cut nice little clean edges, and we'll say, all right, I'll go about this big. And there we have a nice flat straight edge. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not measuring. I'm just doing, just so I have a non-ragged edge. Then what I'll do is I will take this just to kind of give a basic idea, and I will put that around the chick's neck. It's a little bit harder to do when I'm in this level, but you kind of get the idea. So see how I have him like that. But I don't want to stick it really hard because I'm kind of judging it. So I'm just going to pinch out where I think I like it. And then I'm going to take it out before I attach it to him. And I want to make a nice little pointed edges. So all I do on each end is I will just make two little inserts to make like a V. So you have a little cutout, and I will just do that, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. And we'll go. And so see, we have in here, we have the, I'm just trying to think if you can see a little bit better. I'm trying to get in a darker color. You can see the edges. So now we have kind of like that ribbony kind of look that you would have. So now we'll just put it around his neck. And I'll just do a nice little crisscross like I had originally laid it out. You can do it to the side. You can do it, you know, definitely in front. So now I'm going to put it down a little bit more firmly, so, and make sure it's firm all the way around. So we have it like that. But we want to have a nice little bow. You just don't want to have this little thing hanging on the side. So what I do is I take all those little pieces that we had left, and I'm not going to be using any other color right now, so I'll use my hands. Just roll it up, you know, kind of thing. I take my little rolling pin. If you have, if you didn't want, these are just straight acrylic. It looks like about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch round. You can buy them where they sell all the clay stuff. So all that parts are always all together in the clay section at any of the craft stores. But if you don't want to, if you're just doing this a one-off and you don't want to go and get all those extra things, then you can just use a rolling pin, you know, or a smooth-edged glass jar. You can do that because you're not going to be rolling gobs and gobs of stuff. Most of it you're rolling in your hand. So I'll just roll it really thin in there just to give. And then what I like to do, remember I was telling you we had lots of different kind of shapes. This one is, you probably can't see it as well, but this is a heart-shaped one. And I want to have a kind of a big heart. So I will imprint it. I want one for each side of his for a bow. So I'll take that out. And as you can see, that was like the excess that I took out just to give you an idea. I don't want it just a plain kind of, you know, bow. So in that heart shape, I'm going to take my trusty little toothpick, and from the heart part, the rounded part, I'm just going to make 2 little lines to make it look like creases. So you just do that on each one. Really simple, just to give it a little bit more definition. And then what I do is I take them. So now we have these cute little heart pieces that are together. They're tiny, so it's a little hard to see. And I just like to pinch the edge together. So it kind of makes it like, you'll have like a pointed edge to it. Just crease it in the middle so you have a more definite point. And what I do then is I add it to his little bow right here. So depending on how thick you make it, you know, his ribbon that goes around his neck is how thick you have that. So I will just do now the other side, and I'll show you what that looks like. So now we have him with the two little bow parts in there. But we want to have the little bow, and we just want to finish it off because that's what we want to do. And like I said, if you were not doing clay, you can definitely do it with ribbon. You know, you just make a nice little, whatever lovely ribbon you have or fabric that you want to match. You just fold it in half, and that I would use a glue gun just to adhere it in there. I just take a little tiny round bead of the same color, if you want to have it the same color, or you can match it in, and I just fill it in. So therefore, you have now his little bow all done. So really, he is all ready for baking. And what we do is we bake these guys for about 15 minutes at about 270 degrees. Preheat your toaster oven or your oven ahead of time, so when it's to temperature, you don't want it to be in there, you know, as it's warming up. I usually use a piece of tile to put all of my clay items on. You can get them probably like for 15, 25 cents. You only need one at any of the home improvement stores. And that's what I'm using right here. That's just a piece of tile. I have a couple of them. So if they're still warm, I can keep going from other projects and keep using my toaster oven. My toaster oven is to the corner, but I won't have you wait 15 minutes while it bakes. But let's just say he's all done and he's all baked. So then he would look like this. Magic of video. So what we want to do when he is all baked, this is the one that hasn't baked yet. After it's all baked, this one I decided to do with all clay. But if you were just baking and you had the white, after he's all cool and he's cooled off, you don't want to do when it's hot. It will be warm when they come off out of the oven and you have them sitting on the tile. You want to make sure that you don't move it because it's still really fragile. Even though it's baked, it is still fragile. So I keep them, you know, I take the tray out and I just let them cool, you know, go have lunch, you know, watch a show or something like that. Whatever you want to do, just let them cool off completely. Then remove them from your, from the tile, because then they'll come off really nice. You don't have to worry about any kind of breakage. Once that's done, then I usually take, you know, my paints. So I'll take, like, I want to have black eyes, let's say. So you just take a little dab of black paint and, you know, you just dip it in the paint and you poke it in there. You let that dry. And then I usually take a little bit of white and get that little sparkle that you usually see that really makes them look really cute and pop out. Do that. It really does a world of difference in how it visually looks. So once you get that all done, let's say he's all done, he's all baked, he's all decorated. Then what I do is I will take him and I will then glue him with the 6000 glue that I was telling you about. Put him in there. I haven't finished painting this one, but I normally would have had this block of wood in there. So depending on the look you want, you can see he sits up either, you can have him sit up like this, or you can have a smaller block, insert, and he will just sit a little bit lower. It all depends on the look you want to have. So just keep that in mind. Or if you don't mind, you can just do it all in clay and just base it on how high you want your chick to stick out of the box, you know, out of the bucket right here. That's all you have to do. So then once you get that all done, you want to glue that. I usually take, that's why you have the nice flat bottom. You take the 6000 glue, literally a dab, like a dab. I don't know how to explain it. It's probably like, I don't know, 1/4 inch dab. It's a very small little dab because the glue holds really, really well. So what you do is you put a little dab in there, you press it down into your bucket, or if it's going to be sitting on a little piece of that block wood, put it on that. That's all you have to do. I usually let it at least sit for a couple of hours. If you were in a rush, you definitely could use a glue gun. Just use the hot glue sticks versus the low temperature glue sticks, because it just holds up a little bit better. But you definitely want to make sure you glue it. I just always like to use 2000 because I'm usually doing a bunch of them at a time, you know, so it doesn't matter to me. That's what I would do. So then you have him all in there. So let's say he's all in the bucket. So now the next thing you really want to do is we have our little feathers. So usually I'm over there and I'm kind of basing it like, how do I want his feathers to look? So it looks like I might take like half of it off. This is where you could use a glue gun. I usually just cut the tip off basically of what I want. And then when I'm in there, you're just going to put them, and you can probably have quite a few of them, you know, to have that kind of look. Once those are all in there and everybody's all happy and firm in there, then all you have to add is your filler, and that's this filler. A lot of times you can use this color. They have that moss kind that you see around, and also another one that I like, which I used in this one, I just didn't have any leftover, was it looks a little bit more like a straw, and it has that kind of whole look that you would think of a chick. So all depending on that look you want to get is really the things you want to use. But really, some of them come with the little bale wire that you have right there. I don't know if you can see it in there, and it moves around. And some of them have just the straight bucket like we see here with no bale. You can do it either way, depending on the look you want to get. They sell all of them in most of the stores, like I was telling you. But really, most of the stuff that's here is really, really available anywhere. You don't have to do special orders. It's really just your local, you know, Walmart or Holly Lobby or Michael's or something like that. Most of them have just about everything you need. And it really, you could probably make quite a few of these for under $10. So they make really nice little gifts. And like I said, you know, depending on how you wanted to do it, you can spend some really great time with some of your friends and family setting these up and doing them in an afternoon. Not that it takes a whole afternoon to do, but pretty much you're just doing waiting time. So those are really good to do. And but other than that, they're really, really simple to do. But I will be doing a more detailed tutorial, which will make it a little bit easier because it's harder to have you see exactly what I'm doing this far away. But they're really, really simple to do. And hopefully you had a great time learning a little bit on how to do some of these polymer clays. And I will be doing some more. So hopefully you'll join us each month. I usually post what this month's or the next month's event will be. They're all free of charge. We just love to have you join us, and we love hearing from you. You can always leave comments or reach out to me at info@mylovey.com. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions, and also you can leave us a message on our Facebook page, and we really look forward to talking with you soon. So have a great evening. Again, my name is Gabrielle from My Lovey, and I'm really glad you joined us this evening. Thank you, and have a great evening now. Bye-bye.